Do you guys want to know a little bit more about the actual surgeries? So I've had some people tell me they want to know more about the process, anticipating the various surgeries. So we'll do that. So hi everyone, Jay Johnson here, Transgender Support. I'm going to do, hopefully not too long, a two-part related to the bottom surgery for trans women, or vaginoplasty. Okay, and this is something, as a reminder, this is not something that is required for anybody, depending on your finances, depending on your desires. Just because you decide maybe that it's not for you at this time, it doesn't change your journey, it doesn't lessen your journey, not at all. Everybody's journey is different. I will say for many of us, it's something very exciting to look forward to, so I want to talk about that a little bit. For this first part, I think what I'll do is talk a little bit about what I had to do to get ready for the surgery, as well as what happened after, things to prepare for so you're ready to come home. And then for the second part, I think I'll focus more on the actual physical things I noticed, how the body was responding. So sort of two different things. So for this first part, the logistical part, one thing that caught me by surprise was the hair removal. Okay, so this is very important because many of you know that as part of many of our journeys, we start doing hair removal. That can be start waxing, but if you want permanent, you can do either laser hair removal or electrolysis, or two somewhat related but different processes. So I had done that, and I'll do a separate video about that. Started on my face and started doing other areas, the legs. But I remember when I went to go ask my doctor about, does he think that it's a good time for me to start looking into scheduling? Would she support that decision? Well, first thing about that is I was almost feeling nervous. Like, can I ask? Is it too soon? So this is the first thing I'll say. Don't feel nervous. You have your medical team there for a reason. Hopefully people that have been tracking your journey, the different steps. And it is true that for many healthcare networks, they might say, we want you to be on hormones for a year or a year and a half or 2 years. They might have their own timelines, but why not ask and find out what that is so that you're ready? So that's something to say. Don't be nervous to ask. Have the conversation with your trusted medical team. Now going back to when I asked, I felt like I was in that nice spot of where they told me they wanted me to be on hormones for a while. And so I thought I was ready to go. Let's do the surgery tomorrow. But she asked me, she goes, well, how's your hair removal? And I said, well, hair removal? I mean, goodness, I've been working on it for months, over a year actually in some areas. And she's like, no, Jade, the hair removal down there in the groin area, the bikini area, where they're going to be actually doing the surgery. Now, funny anecdote, I had sort of put that part till last because I'll tell you more about it in my laser hair sequence. Many of you know it can be not the most pleasant process. So I was thinking, oh my gosh, if I go down there, ooh, that's going to really be painful or scary. So I'll wait. But I wasn't even thinking at the time. I had so many things in my head that in order for the doctor, the surgeon, to perform the surgery, they require that the area is really clean, which means no hair. So that is something that, while it may seem frustrating to consider, I have to wait longer, or even if I am approved to go talk to a surgeon, maybe once you do, they say, great, we want to put you on the calendar. They might say, we can't get you until next year, sometimes 2 years. It does happen. But, take your steps and check in, as I always say. While you're waiting, use the time to ensure you have the hair removal process complete, okay? Because you have to, and you don't want to rush through it, because between each session, you have to wait a certain amount of time. Usually it's 5 to 6 weeks or so. So start the hair removal process, and yes, I mean specifically down there in the bikini area, we'll call it, the groin area, it needs to be clear. And I will tell you, just because now that I said the thing before, when I did it, everyone's different. It actually wasn't as painful as I thought. I did other areas that were more sensitive than that. So by the time I got to that space, I was so excited for the surgery. I was like, just get rid of all the hair. And it wasn't that bad. They went through it. Each session lasted literally 30 to 45 seconds. Boom, 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 zap, 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 and you're done. So that's one thing I will say. You have to have the hair removed. The other thing that I did in anticipation of the new genitalia is practice again, use your time. Even if you feel frustrated, you have to wait for the surgery. Use that time because it's also socially and internally transitioning, right? So going to the bathroom, of course, you know that once you have the surgery, you will be seated to go to the bathroom. So I said, you know what? Let me just get in the habit now of at home and in public, making sure I'm in a stall or something and sitting down to go to the bathroom because after the surgery, that's my only choice, right? So I had probably 5 or 6 months where I was just, every time I had to go to the bathroom, even though I didn't have to yet because I hadn't had the surgery yet, I said, let me be seated, get used to that, get used to wiping, etc. That was really helpful for me. So that's something you can do as well. And then, not to make this too long, I want to talk a little bit about what happens afterwards, after the surgery, okay? And we'll do more about this, and you guys will tell me what things you want me to highlight more. But this is to kind of give you a teaser to say, yes, I will absolutely talk about the surgical process. I'm happy to. So the surgery comes, and I remember you have to have someone with you. So that's something important. Start thinking about who's that trusted person, because for many people, it's something they think, well, it's a very private thing. Maybe my family hasn't had the response I want, or my friends, but you do need to have one person assigned. It doesn't, you cannot be the person to say, oh, I'm strong, I'm independent, I'll go tell them, I'll be fine. They will not let you schedule your surgery. So figure out who that person's going to be. And I remember after my surgery, in my case, it was my mother, my beautiful mother. And after the surgery, I remember coming out of the anesthesia and, you know, you read things like maybe there's pain, there might be swelling, there might be all kinds of things. But I just want to tell you guys, for those of you who it's right to have the surgery, waking up and realizing I'd gotten through it and that I looked down, you know, under the blankets, the covers, as much as I could see. And I was so happy. I was like, this is it. Like, I'm here. And the surgery happened and it was a success. And everything felt great. Now, when you complete your surgery, just know you're going to be in the hospital probably 3 to 4 days, depending on your healing, depending on your observation. But that's something else to plan, especially for work, etc. You are going to be staying in the hospital for 3 to 4 days so they can monitor the immediate recovery. And that's also a great time for you to consider not only your physical recovery, but also socially. That's why they advise you sometimes to work with a social worker. How are you adjusting? It's a huge change for the body. I'll do a separate video for that too. But have you taken in what it means? You've had a huge change to your body. Have you taken that in? So you're getting a chance to process all those things for 3 to 4 days for after the surgery. That's also important for those of you who, like I live in New York, so I'm very fortunate because my surgeon, my whole team is in New York. When I talk about going for my surgery, I go down the street. But I know for most of the country, they're traveling for maybe a couple hours. Maybe they have to fly several states to get the surgeon they want. So just know that when you're done, you will be there for a few days. And then you're gonna have a series of appointments after that, but you'll be there for a few days. The last thing I'll say for this particular video is when you leave, you're going to have a bit of a constraint, okay? This is just real talk. I want you to know all the details. I'm here for you to tell you what's gonna happen. First is, you're not gonna be able to sit down without the use of a donut. You've seen those donuts. And that can be a little bit annoying at first, just because like everywhere you go, if you go to the movies, if you go to a restaurant to have dinner with your friends, it doesn't matter. Anywhere you sit down, the couch to watch TV, you need the donut. The other thing is the immediate days following. So you finish the surgery, you're in the hospital for a few days, and then you are clear to go home. But then for several days after that, I'm trying to remember how many, but several, it's not one. You have 2 things that you're effectively kind of hooked up to. One is the catheter so that you can urinate without having to go to the restroom. The second thing is you're going to have a pump, like a valve, to just capture any blood or excess fluid that's built up. So just keep that in mind. You're going to be tethered to sort of 2 things after. And that is where the person you've selected to be part of your team, they're going to really come in and be helpful, because everything you do, every movement when you get up, any surgery you have in that space, that abdominal pelvic space, you're sensitive. Sitting up is sensitive. Sitting down is sensitive. Moving about your apartment or your house is sensitive. So that person will help you. And even more so, you're going to really just have these two things that you have to carry with you. One for the urine, for, go to the bathroom to go number one. The other thing is going to be for when you just like blood or any excess fluid that is draining. So you're going to have that too. And I'll talk more about those things, but we'll cut it there for now. And then I'll do a part 2 to talk about some of the physical parts of the surgery. But again, I'm happy to talk any specific questions you have. It's something that's on the front of people's minds. And so, yeah, let's talk surgery. And I'll see you soon.